Hello, kings and queens of the high seas. This is your captain, the Pirate King. And today, I am just doing a hopefully not too long introduction video about PvP for absolute beginners. So in this video, I am going to be talking about gameplay, IVs, the meta, and team building. Those are going to be the topics that we covered today. We're going to talk about what's good, why it's good, certain mechanics that you should keep in mind, things that you should look out for, things that you should learn. Now, I am not a great player by any means, but I mean, there are players that are way, way better than me, and you could probably learn a lot more from all of them. But I did hit Legend in Season 7, and I hit Legend in Season 8, and we're, at the time that I'm making this, we are currently in Season 8. I'm just kind of trolling around with some spicy picks. So I at least have something to my name. You know, maybe something for me might be useful if you value Legend players and their opinions. I don't know. I probably shouldn't. A lot of bad players get to Legend. I'm probably one of them. So today, I am going to cover some of this stuff, and maybe you'll learn something. If you haven't played PvP before, if you haven't tried Go Battle League, I certainly suggest trying it. It is a broken game. There is plenty of lag. There are lots of issues, and it can really get in the way of just doing whatever you want in Go Battle League, or just playing your team the right way. It can really cause problems. So I'm going to talk about some of this stuff here. So first of all, what is Go Battle League? So if you've ever done a battle with a friend or even a rocket battle, I'm sure you know that you have 3 Pokemon each and 2 shields. So you attack with your quick move and then throw your charge move for generally bigger damage. Now, of course, unless you're battling against a rocket leader, you are not going to, or your opponent isn't going to use their shields. And in PvP, you don't have to use the shields right away. You get to save them for whenever. I'll be talking a little bit more about when to shield and what to shield later on in the video, but first let's talk about some general gameplay stuff. So there are 1 through 5 turn fast moves. So Dragon Breath, if you ever played Dragonite or something, you may have noticed that, man, it is just ripping off those fast moves. Those Dragon Breaths are going really fast. That's because it is a 1 turn move. A turn is half a second in PvP. So for every time a Dragon Breath user gets 5 turns, it means it does 5 fast moves. So it has 5 Dragon Breaths, and for every time you get those 5, a 5-turn fast move like an Incinerate gets 1. Although Incinerate charges a lot more, it gives you a lot more energy. We're going to talk about energy as well, but it's a much slower move, generally heavier damage. But it ranges from 1 to 5 turn fast moves. Counter, for example, is a 2-turn fast move. It takes 1 second to use 1 counter. So like I mentioned before, you and your opponent each have 2 shields. You can use these shields to block the big move. And generally that's a good thing, but you don't always want to use them. And this, I learned this much later. I think I learned this in Season 7. I didn't actually know this until then. Even if you use a shield, 1 damage still goes through, so it doesn't block all the damage, it just blocks the majority of the damage. So even if you do use a shield, that's still 1 damage that gets through. So for getting into Go Battle League, you might take note of the ELO system or the MMR system. It's basically the same thing. There are ranks 1 through 20, which as of right now are win-based. Basically, you just get wins, and once you have piled up enough wins, then you get your ELO score. For a lot of people, this can be around 1900, and you hit ace rank at 2000, I believe, and then at 2500 you hit veteran, at 2750 you hit expert, and at 3000 you hit legend. And legend is the highest rank, although you can always do a leaderboard push if you're really good and try to get on the global leaderboards. And this elo, your MMR, is based on who you're playing against and whether or not you win or lose. If you beat a player whose elo is a lot higher than yours, you would gain more elo for your positive sets. So going 3-2 overall generally gets you around 15 points. Sometimes it can be as when you get to really high elos, you can just get a couple points. Sometimes you can even lose points for positive sets, but you got to be really, really good for that. You got to be really high up there. But generally you get around 15. It could be 12, it could be 17, but 15 is, I think, an average for a 3-2. If you go 4-1 in your set, you can get around 30, 40, somewhere around there. And then if you go 5-0, it can be as high as 75, 80, somewhere around there, but around 70. But this does change depending on who your opponents were and what their elo was. But eventually you get enough, you get your elo score high enough, and you hit these next ranks. So when talking about GBL, there are 3 or 4 leagues that you can generally play in. Now, they aren't doing this at the moment that I'm recording this, but there's a little cup where you have the max CP of your Pokemon is 500. And then for Great League, which is around a lot, your max CP is 1500. For Ultra League, your max CP is 2500. And in Master League, there is no CP cap. You can play whatever Pokemon, they can be maxed out. So those are the leagues, and each one has different Pokemon in it. Because there's some Pokemon that can't get up, all the way to 2500. There are some Pokemon that don't go past 2600, and in Master League you find stuff around 4000, 3800, maybe more than that. So it's pretty tough competition. You wouldn't want to play those smaller CP Pokemon in that kind of league. So every league has its own meta. And if you haven't heard the term meta before, it generally means the things that are seeing play. So right now on my screen, as you can see, I have pulled up here PV Poke. Now PV Poke is probably it's going to be your best friend if you're getting into PvP. So this will show you I'm currently on the rankings page, and on rankings you can see which Pokemon are the most popular and perform the best in each league. So right now for Great League, you see XL Metacham, Galarian Stunfisk, Azumarill, Jellicent, Altaria. These are Pokemon that you will see a lot of, and I mean a lot. And a team that you build should generally be able to handle most of these Pokemon. Otherwise, it just won't really perform well, because you will see this stuff on nearly every team. I mean, Patrisu is kind of a different story. It is a regional. So these are performances based on simulations, and these are the ones that have the best winning matchups. So there's a reason why they are meta, there's a reason people play them, and that's because they're just really, really good. And in every league, this is going to be different. So for example, if I go to Ultra League, as you can see at the very top here, there's a drop-down box. I actually don't know if it's showing up on there. No, I don't think it is. Yeah, there is a drop-down box up here, but for some reason it doesn't show up on OBS. At least the drop-down doesn't. So yeah, for Ultra League, here's the meta. This is Open Ultra League, and then there's Ultra League Premier, which is non-legendaries and no mythicals as well. And these are the highest performing Pokemon in that league. And of course, then we can go to Master League, and you see it's completely different for each one, because there are just different pools of Pokemon that can see play in these leagues. Like if like Melmetal wouldn't really necessarily want to see a Galarian Stunfisk. And even though Galarian Stunfisk only goes up to 20, not even 2500, you wouldn't really want to put it in here because it would lose to a whole lot of other things. So there's reason that in Master League simulations you don't see stuff like that. You could play it, you could do that, it's just not necessarily a good idea. So these are generally the things you would want to play in Master League. So what Pokemon should you use? You can play any Pokemon you want. There's no limit on that. It can be absolutely whatever. So there are certain Pokemon that are really good that you're going to see a lot of. These are generally called staples for the league that they're in. So for example, in Great League you will see A9, Jellicent, Azumarill, Galarian Stunfisk. Those are some fairly common Great League staples and Great League cores as well, because they do a good job at covering each other. So Azumarill and G-Fisk do a good job covering each other's weaknesses, and same thing with Alolan Ninetales and Jellicent. In Ultra League, you will commonly see Empoleon and Talonflame, Giratina. You will see these things very often. So these are Pokemon that you can use. Definitely feel free to use them. They perform very well for a reason. And then in Master League, you will generally be seeing stuff like Dialga and Groudon, as well as Mewtwo, just the really high stat product Pokemon, and we will talk about stat products just a little bit later, but just really high stat Pokemon that just can output a lot of damage. They just perform very well. So when playing PvP, if you build a Pokemon that is ready for that league, its CP is below or at that CP cap, like 1500 or 2500, then you want to start considering what moves you want to run. Now you can get TMs everywhere. You usually get them from raids though. You can get them from tasks. There are a decent amount of ways you can get TMs. So if you have a Pokemon that you want to use and you want to build it, but it just has bad moves, feel free to try to change those out. But generally, when you are playing in GBL, you want your Pokemon to be double moved. You want them to have their quick move, and you want them to have 2 charged moves. This gives them a lot of coverage, because sometimes it's really hard to play, actually all the time, almost all the time, it's really hard to win games with single charged move Pokemon, because you're going to realize, man, I just really needed that other move. That other move really would have won me the game here if I just had that second move. So if you build a Pokemon and you think it's going to get you wins, if you're going to get a lot of use out of it, absolutely build the Pokemon and get that second move. Now, the recommended movesets, and like I said before, you can go on PvPoke to get a lot of PvP information. I am going to actually go search for Muck. So Alolan Muck has a very interesting move set here, and you have, depending on the team that you have and what you want to do with the team, you can choose a variety of different ones. So commonly you will see Snarl, Dark Pulse, and Sludge Wave, or sorry, Gunk Shot. No, Sludge Wave. I think Sludge Wave is the one that I run. You can see that, or sometimes you see Poison Jab, Dark Pulse, and Acid Spray. So Acid Spray, it's a very low damage move, but it's a really good bait move. You can get you can sometimes get their shields if they think it's going to be heavy damage, but it just isn't heavy damage, and instead you lower their defense. So it really depends on what you want to do, but it has versatility. You can play the recommended moveset and the one on PvPoke right now. This is for Open Ultra League, so against Giratinas and stuff. Snarl, Dark Pulse, and Gunk Shot. Totally fine to run that moveset, but as you can see here, you have a variety of things you can run. I almost guarantee you're not going to want to run Bite on Alolan Muck, but these are the moves that, this is the move pool for Alolan Muck, so depending on what you want to do with your team, how you want to play it, you can feel free to change out the movesets. Now, I should note that there is one huge barrier to PvP, and that is the fact that the XL system is really not that good. So if you're not level 40, this is a barrier that you just cannot cross. You can play these leagues without XLs, it's just harder. You can win in these leagues without XLs, it is just harder. If you are over level 40, and if you're a grinder, you can get these XL candies, and you can power up your Pokemon past a certain level, and it would just be better off. But that is a barrier I should warn you about. You're going to see a lot of XL Pokemon, so if you're under level 40 trying PvP, just be hesitant, I guess, or be careful of these. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Just watch out for these. Make sure that your team can be able to handle these XLs. You can feel free to save. Actually, I recommend the save Pokemon that you think will be really good for these leagues as XL Pokemon, and just save them until you can get the XLs to invest in them. I should have done that. If someone told me that, that would have been great, but they did not, because I hit level 40 before XLs came out, and I'm just, shit out of luck. Some Pokemon even pretty much require them to be over level 40 to play in a certain league. For example, Ultra League, if you are under level 40, your Talonflame, for example, cannot go up to 2500. If you are over level 40, you can get the XL candies that are needed, and you can power it up to just under 2500 with just maxed out at level 50. So, and that requires a hundo as well, so you need it to be 15 15 15. We're going to talk more about stats a little bit when we talk about IVs, but yeah, so like you can't even feasibly play a Talonflame if you're under level 40 in Ultra League. So there is a very clear barrier that is keeping people away from GBL, so I get it. But yeah, just keep that in mind. You're gonna have to look out for these XL Pokemon. All right, so now on to my my favorite topic, PVP IVs. If you catch a Pokemon that's a hundo, so the examples that I picked out here are Umbreon and Diggersby specifically. I'm gonna show some other ones as well, but those are two specific examples. They both perform pretty well in Great League. Umbreon is fantastic. Diggersby does have some play in Great League. So if you catch something that's a hundo, for example, and you're like, wow, this is really good, it's a perfect, why wouldn't I run this? This is really good. It isn't really good. And the reason, and I'm going to show you this right here. So this is also on PvPoke. This is the simulator where you can just put in Pokemon to battle. So what I've done here is I have two different Umbreons. I have this Umbreon, which is the hundo. And as you can see, I want you to take note of this. It's level 24.5. It's level 24 and a half. And this is a hundo in Great League. And then this Umbreon that I've chosen is a rank 1. And I'm going to talk a little bit about ranks after I show this to you. But as you can see, it's 0, 15, 15. And you're wondering, well, it has no attack. Why would you ever play that? Like, can't it just do like no damage? Well, it is true that it does less damage. The fact that it is 3 whole levels higher than the hundo Umbreon, and is also in Great League, as you can see, the CP is 1500. It is 3 levels higher. It still has overall higher base stats. And now I'm not sure how all the equations work for all of this, but as you can see, for the rank 1, this right here is called your stat product. So this 2539, that is the max stat product, the most amount of stats that you can fit into a Pokemon while still being under that CP cap, or within that CP range. So this one is 2539, and the hundo is 2389. So that is almost 200 points in difference there. Now, while this one does have a higher attack, The other one has a higher defense and HP, which of course would make sense, right? Because the other one's is 0, 15, 15. So the reason why this is so good is, or why these mons with 0, with generally low attack and higher defense and HP, the reason why they're so good is because they have more bulk points. They can survive more moves, which means they can get to perhaps an extra move. So when you're looking for PvP IVs, it's different than going out and finding all the hundos. So I've pulled up an example here. This is for Dragonite. So Dragonite, you sometimes see this in Great League. Now, a hundo in Great League is not good, like not good at all. This site, this is on gostadium.gg. They have a rank checker. So if you catch a Pokemon that you think will be really good, you can check what percentage of its max stat product does it have. And this will show you. So I have chosen here, I have plugged in 3, 15, 14. That is the rank 1 because it goes up to 1500. It's within the range. And it's also at a generally higher level. And it has the most bulk points while also having some attack stat as well. So when they run the math, I don't do the math for all this. That'd be insane. When they run the math for all this, they will present you here the max stat product, the highest amount you can have, which is right here. So in this case, it's 1656.8. That's the max stat product for Dragonite. Now, when you're looking for which Pokemon or which Dragonite you have will be good for it, you generally want things with higher stat product. And this is all generally speaking. So you generally want things with higher stat product. Usually you don't want hundos in Great League or in Ultra League. There are some exceptions, like I mentioned before, the Talonflame, which if it's not a hundo, it just gets further and further away from that 2500 mark in Ultra League. In Great League, for example, Wobbuffet doesn't even hit 1500, so you definitely want that one to be a hundo. And there are some other exceptions, but generally speaking, you want low attack and then high defense and HP, because you want to fit in the most amount of the most stats into one Pokemon. The best way to explain this is with an analogy with gumballs. So let's say you have a jar and you want to fill it up with gumballs. You have a whole lot of... Now, the objective is just to get the most gumballs in there. You would probably want to fill that with small gumballs and not big ones, because if you put in the big ones, there will be less gumballs. There will be a lower stat product. Now, the reason why this is so important is because the attack stat actually is weighted, or the CP is weighted more heavily in favor of the attack stat. So the attack points are the big gumballs and the defense and HP are the little ones. So you generally want to fill it with as many gumballs as possible, which means throw in all the small ones because you'll get more in there. So generally speaking, you do want low attack and then high defense and HP. So what I want to do is I want to show a couple of examples here about how or why IVs or why PvP IVs are important. One of the reasons is that it can absolutely flip matches, which is crazy. There are going to be some matchups where a rank 1 will lose a certain matchup when a lower rank Pokemon wins a certain matchup. One of the most notable ones is Goodra and Galvantula. Usually Galvantula, if you take the rank 1s, Galvantula will win that matchup. But if you take a lower rank Goodra, let's say it has a higher attack stat, a little bit higher attack stat, then it actually flips the match because the Dragon Breaths will do 1 more damage, so they will add up more. And that is a completely IV dependent matchup, Goodra and Galvantula. You don't really see that matchup often, but it does happen. and that is something to keep in mind when deciding which Gudra you want to evolve, which one you want to invest in, stuff like that. And of course, if this wasn't explained before, if it wasn't obvious, the closer something is to its max stat product, the closer it is to rank 1. So when I say rank 1, it means that Pokemon's has the max stat product for that league. So like a rank 2 Dragonite here would be a 2-15-15. That's rank 2. So it doesn't have the highest max stat product that it could possibly have, but it does still have a very high one. It has the second highest. So whenever I say rank 1s, rank 2, it does range from 1 to 4096. The closer to 1, the better, basically. Just keep that one in mind if you use this site. Closer to 1, the better. And just for some examples here, so I have pulled up this one already. We're going to look at a few here. So of course we're doing the Hundo Umbreon and the rank 1 Umbreon. So if you look down here, there's a matrix option. So you can plug in a certain amount of Pokemon against another set of Pokemon, and you can just play out the matches, and the simulation will do a lot of work for you. So these are in the 1 shield matchups. So if we look here, the rank 1 is at the bottom. There's 0, 15, 15, and the Hundo is here at the top. So let's see what matches are flipped. So the rank 1 instead, so as you can see here, the Hundo Umbreon loses in the Altaria match, while the rank 1 wins in the Altaria match. So let's see what match. So let's say you have a Hundo that you're using. Let's see what matches we flipped. So in this case, you actually do win in the Galvantula matchup, but you would win if you have the Hundo in the Galvantula one, because Umbreon would just output just that much more damage. But Umbreon's not really thought of as the damaging guy on the team. Umbreon's a tank, so you would generally want Umbreon to be there to soak up. You want him to be a damage sponge, her, whatever. You want Umbreon to be a damage sponge. Not going to assume it's gender here. It also flips the Meganium match. As you can see, it would be losing as a Hundo and winning as a rank 1. Let's see what other matches are flipped here. It wins in the Superior and Shiftry matchups when it normally would lose as a Hundo. And I just put it up against the meta, but you can plug in any Pokemon you want and see how it goes. I have also picked out Diggersby as well. So this is a rank 1 Diggersby at level 40. So if you're if you're under level 40 and you have this one, a 14, 15, 15, that's going to be the best Diggersby you can get, or that you can use, until you get over level 40. This one performs better as an XL. So it unfortunately has to be XL'd to win certain matchups, and I'm going to show you why. So even though this one has 14, 15, 15, let's compare this to the rank 1, which is at level 50, and it's a 0, 15, 13. I do have one of these myself. It's really thick. Thickersby is really good. So I have plugged in the Great League meta again. So I go down here to the matchups, and there are some. So most of the matchups stay the same, but there are two specific ones that I wanted to point out. So the first one is, here we have Alolan Ninetales. Alolan Ninetales is commonly run with Powder Snow, but it is also sometimes run with Charm. Usually this Diggersby, the 14, 15, 15 one, would lose against a Charm Ninetales. However, the 0, 15, 13 actually wins that match. And that's fairly decidedly too. And one that I was actually surprised about, and as you can see, most of the matches generally stay the same. They're still either losing or winning, just as they always were. Although, if you have the rank 1, a lot of matchups get a lot better for you. You don't lose as hard. One that I was surprised about was the Toxicroak matchup. So the counters add up. There's a lot more damage there. If you have a rank 1, you can survive a lot more counters, which means you can get to extra moves. And because of that, the rank 1 wins against Toxic Rogue when this Diggersby, the 14-15-15, would lose against Toxic Rogue. So those are two pretty important matchups that the Diggersby can now flip. So the next thing we're going to talk about is team building. Now this is not my strong suit, I'll admit, but PvPoke, once again, coming in clutch. It has a team builder as well. It can help you build a team. So when building a team, you can lead whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. I generally try to lead with coverage mons. So a lot of the time I like to run Sirfetch'd in the lead, because Sirfetch'd, he has the fighting damage, he can use Leaf Blade, and he can use Night Slash as well. He has play against ghosts and water types. He's really, really good. Sirfetch'd is a great coverage mon, so I like Sirfetch'd a lot as a lead, but you can lead whatever you want. Now, when building your backline, this is the most important part. There are two other parts that you need. You need a safe swap, something that can either draw out a hard something. It can draw out a Pokemon that your lead can just farm up and just have a field day with. So you can draw out, or perhaps you can draw out a direct counter to like the other thing that you have in the back. There are multiple ways that you can play it. And when looking at this, you want to think of cores. Like, what are some Pokemon that go really well together because they cover each other? I picked a very common example: Swampert and Skarmory. If you're playing in Great League, if you see a Swampert, there's probably a Skarmory in the back. So Swampert is weak to grass, doesn't have much play against dragons, so you want to have that coverage. In this case, Skarmory is great because it resists the dragon damage, and it does really well against grass types. It resists dragon because it's a steel type. And we're going to talk about typings when we get into gameplay. And Skarmory is weak to fire and electric, doesn't have much play against rock. Well, good news here, Swampert is really, really good against those types. So this is a core. They cover each other's weaknesses really well, and you also want to add a safe swap to this team. Now, one of the most popular lines, I ran it for a while, is perhaps a FP6 line, where you have Swampert and then Vigoroth as a safe swap, and then Skarmory in the back. And it's a really solid core. You can swap Skarmory and Swampert as well. So, really good core. There are other ones like Alolan Ninetales and Jellicent. I mentioned those earlier on. But when building a team, you need things in the back that cover the weaknesses of your lead. And that's something I don't see a lot of lower level players doing. But team building is very important, because winning the lead can be critical, winning Switch can be critical. We're going to talk about that all in gameplay. But when team building, you can absolutely, I encourage you to use PvPoke's Team Builder. You can see the coverage, the bulk, how safe it is, all that stuff. You can see the winning and losing matchups, and it will even give you these alternatives to what you can run, things that cover the weaknesses that you have. So this can be very helpful when building a team, and I highly suggest it. So when getting into PvP, you want to learn the typings. Now, these do take a while to learn all of them. I mean, I'm sure that I still don't know all of them. Like some of the recent ones that I found out was that Fairy resists Bug, for example. I didn't know that. So this is similar to, but not the same as in the main series games. In the main series games, there are immunities. There are no immunities in Pokemon Go. So Ghost is not immune to Normal. Normal is not immune to Ghost. They are double resistant, but they are not immune. They will still take damage from it, just not a lot. So this type chart is very helpful for Pokemon Go. You can just Google a type chart for Pokemon Go, and you can probably figure it out from there. These are pretty self-explanatory. Like, for example here, let's say I have a Flyer, and I want to see how good it is against grass. Here's grass. Go down to flying. Flying is super effective against grass, as you can see by the red right there. So it does more damage to grass. And you can see all these neutral matchups and where things are resisted and double resisted. It's really helpful to learn the majority of these, although I will say that a lot of them you will probably learn from just playing the game. You're gonna just practice it, and it should be helpful. Alright, so before I hop into actual gameplay commentary, what I'm gonna do is talk a little bit about energy and fast move counting. This is definitely higher up there on the skill curve, but it's just important to take note of. So I have here a matchup between Sirfetch'd and Swampert. Now I personally like this matchup, although the simulation, this is the like optimum move timing and stuff like that. Timing is really important in this game as well. If you don't throw on the right turn, like we talked about before with turns, if you don't throw on the right turn, they can maybe get an extra move in, so they're going to be ahead on energy. So in this matchup, as you see, here we have Sirfetch'd, Swampert. Sirfetch'd is here at the top, Swampert is here at the bottom. So, and then here you see their charge moves, and as I go down the line, you will see how much these charge up each. So Sirfetch'd, and Swampert, to get to their first move, in Sirfetch'd's case, Leaf Blade and Night Slash, at least with the moveset that I'm running, and in Swampert's case, Hydro Cannon. It takes 5 to get to the first move, but because Mudshot generates more energy, so it generates 9 per turn, right? So what, 9 times 5 is 45. Hydro Cannon is 40 energy, which means after you throw it, you have 5 energy left over. And this means once you throw 4 more, that's what, 36? So 36 plus 5, 41, you're already at the other move. So if you didn't follow that math, it's okay. Learning the energy, how much each fast move generates, and how much each charged move is worth, will be better off in the long run. But since I didn't do that, I don't want to go through the work to learn all the energy counts. So I learn fast move counts. And this works similarly, although it's less reliable. And plus, if you do energy counts, the math can throw you off, especially if you are not a fan of math. So, as you can see here, they get to the move right away. And this right here is called a CMP tie, because in the simulation, they're both throwing the move just as soon as they get them. As you can see up here, Sirfetch'd has a higher attack, 144, than Swampert, 122. Which means if they are throwing the move on the same turn, Sirfetch'd, I can't talk right now, Sirfetch'd's move will have priority. This is called a CMP tie, and winning CMP, charge move priority, can be crucial here. So this you can look up which Pokemon have the highest attack stats in order. Not going to be something that you memorize, but some matchups you might want to know which Pokemon wins CMP, so you know when exactly to throw your move. Because if you CMP them and they win the CMP tie, well, then what was the point of throwing at that timing? These are all things I will discuss more in the gameplay. However, as you can see, with optimum timing, Swampert would win this match, because it gets to that second move faster than Sirfetch'd gets to the Leaf Blade, because it takes 5 each time for Sirfetch'd to get to a move, but with Swampert, it takes 5 and then 4, so it outpaces Sirfetch'd to the second move. But if you keep attacking, if you don't throw right away, and they throw right away, you can get an extra move through. Maybe their timing was off. And if their timing is off, you can win the match because you get an extra counter in and you get to the second move just as soon as they get to the second move. And we talked about before, you win CMP, you win the match. So it's a very winnable match, but it does require proper timing. There is a reason why I chose this example is because whenever I see a Swampert lead, even though the simulation tells me, no, this is a bad matchup, I think it's generally a good one because you keep attacking and just hopefully they slip up. That's how it is. If you're playing against someone who's really good, they might not allow you to slip up, which is fair. You might have to invest 2 shields, but you just play those out, you know. Swampert isn't the best lead that Sirfetch'd wants to see, but you can certainly take shields with Sirfetch'd on Swampert. That's pretty much guaranteed that you will get shields out of them. Now, I noted here that it takes 5 to get to each of Sirfetch'd's moves that I have chosen here. It can also learn Brave Bird in close combat. Because each fast move generates a certain amount of energy, and each charge move costs a certain amount of energy, it is you can learn the counts for each of these moves, like how many of this move will it take to get to, you know, this other big move, like this other charged move. So keeping count of their moves can be crucial. If a Machamp can learn Rock Slide, and it usually runs Rock Slide and Cross Chop. Let's say you have a Flyer. If you count that they have 5 fast moves, that's not enough for a Rock Slide. You don't have to shield that, probably, because it's resisted damage against the Flyer. And this is generally speaking, right? You might have times where you might have to shield the Cross Chop. But keeping counts like this is critical. It's really important. You want to know how much energy they have, so you know when to throw your move. Another example of these is Empoleon and Venusaur. So Empoleon, and I'm considering this for Ultra League, Empoleon wins CMP. It has a higher attack stat. So once I have to throw my Frenzy Plant when I count that they have 4 waterfalls worth of energy, because if they CMP me at the 5th one, I'm gonna have to probably use a shield to shield the Drill Peck, because Drill Peck does super effective damage to Venusaur. Venusaur is a grass type, Drill Peck is a flying type move. So if I want to throw the Frenzy Plant, I should throw it when they are at 4, because this way I have extra energy and they did not get to their move. Now this usually matters once you build up a little bit. And I'm gonna go over some of this stuff in the gameplay. Maybe that'll help you out. But if you know that you lose CMP, throw 1 before they get to the move, if you're keeping your counts properly. Throw even, 2 or 3 before they get to the move if you're unsure. So yeah, make sure that I slip up too. Everyone makes these kinds of mistakes. Everyone loses count. Sometimes invisible moves get through because this is a broken game, so it's not 100% reliable, but knowing how much energy your opponent has is very important to winning the matchup. Next, we can talk about buffs and debuffs. So you might notice how some of your Pokemon, like let's say you have a Pokemon with a superpower. Superpower, once you use it, it drops your attack and defense 1 stage. So what does that mean? Essentially, it means by 22%. 1 stage is 22%, and there are 4 stages. You can't go down to 0. So here on Sirfetch'd, I'm going to continue with this example. It has Night Slash. Night Slash has the potential to boost your attack stat by 2 stages, which means 44%. So if I click on this Night Slash, apply the buffs or the debuffs, as you can see here, it says +2 attack. So if we compare the 9 damage that counter does to Swampert usually to the 13 damage it does after the buff, it has risen 2 stages, and or 44%. about, and they do more damage here. And you can only go up to 4 either way. So you can be 4 times boosted, or you can be 4 times dropped. And that goes for both attack and defense. And of course, if you get like a boost and then a debuff on yourself, obviously it cancels out. Next, I want to talk a little bit about charging. You probably won't run into this a lot. Usually, the vast majority of the time, you'll want to charge the move all the way. Once you click a charged move, you're going to see those bubbles pop up. If you hit them all, you do, as you can see here, 100% of the damage that it can do. So with Night Slash to a Swampert, it would do 44%. But let's say that in order to win the game, I needed to farm on Swampert. I needed Swampert to be alive because I need a Pokemon in the back to get some energy, so it can be ahead on energy for whatever comes out next. Now, this won't always pop up. Usually you want to know what they have in the back already, so you're not just going in there blind. So, like, let's say I charged it up 75%. So it does 33 damage. This way, there's going to be extra health on Swampert. So let's say I have Venusaur in the back. Maybe Venusaur needs a little bit of farm in order to outpace something they have in the back, like for some reason an Empoleon. Let's say that their Empoleon already has some energy, but you need to get that extra bit of charge on your Venusaur in order to take out that Empoleon, because if you don't, they're going to get to their charge move first, and they're going to win the game. So sometimes undercharging can be very useful, and it's kind of hard to do. You kind of have to learn the matchups from playing them out. You could go on this site and memorize everything, but that just sounds like hell. I don't suggest it. So in this case, undercharging as well is something that you kind of learn just by playing it out, but this is a strategy that you can keep in mind, and throughout your gameplay you can refine it. Other moves, I didn't mention this before, other moves that have the buffs and debuffs. Brave Bird will drop your defense by 3 stages. Power Up Punch raises your attack by 1 stage each time you use it. So there are a lot of moves like this. Generally, just click on a Pokemon in your inventory, and then go to there's a little option where it gives you one for raids and then for battles. Just go to the battles one to see if something has any buffs and debuffs for you or your opponent. But that is all there. So I already talked a little bit about over farming. Like I said, before they get to a certain move, have some, and maybe you want some leftover energy. Don't just throw your charge move right away. It might be a really bad idea to do that. Maybe you need that extra energy to win the game. Maybe you're going to need to get to that extra move. So don't always throw right away unless you really have to. A lot of these matchups you're just going to learn by playing them out. So I just recommend keeping that kind of stuff in mind. There's also the option of baiting. So let's pick a Pokemon like, here's a good one. Let's do Ferrothorn. Mirror Shot is a very low damage move, but it's also a very low energy move, especially to a Swampert. If you look here, Mirror Shot does almost nothing. It does almost nothing to Swampert because it's double resisted. But the Power Whip, of course, is double super effective. Now, of course, they're going to want to shield the Power Whip. So you can't, and because of the low cost of Mirror Shot, you get there very early on. So 1, 2, 3. So you're there after 3. Don't throw it away, because if you're throwing when you have 3 bullet seeds worth of energy, they're going to know that it is a Mirror Shot and they don't have to shield because it does nothing. However, if you build up, like the simulation does, then you can throw a Mirror Shot, because now the Swampert doesn't know if you're throwing a Power Whip or a Mirror Shot. And in this situation, you would want to do what's called bait. So you build up to the high damage move, but then throw the low energy move, because this way you still have a good amount of energy, because after throwing a mirror shot, you're 1 or 2 away from a power whip, and they have used their shield. So games go a lot faster this way. And then once their shield is down, once you've baited their shield out of them, then you can use the power whip for the win. And sometimes you don't have to bait, because sometimes your low energy move is just the move you want to go for. Like if you're up against a fairy type, you might just want to go mirror shot because it can lower their attack, and it just does more damage because it's super effective. So it's more efficient to go with mirror shot. You get more damage per energy, or DPE, with mirror shot against a fairy type. So in that case, it's important to learn your type matchups. So the final thing I want to talk about before I get into the actual covering of the battles, and they're going to be my own battles, the last thing I want to talk about is when to shield. There are a variety of questions that you can ask yourself about each time you are considering shielding. Just kind of run through them in your head. What move can I survive? What move will do the most damage? Do I know what move they're throwing? What Pokemon do I need to keep alive to win? And which Pokemon need the shields? Generally, the squishier Pokemon are going to need the shields. Like if you have Umbreon, generally you don't have to shield Umbreon unless you need Umbreon to win, unless there's a move that will do the most damage in a certain case. Like maybe this is the move you have to shield in order to come out of that match the winner. Maybe if they get that move through, they can have switch advantage potentially. And switch advantage, I'm going to explain that one as well, because this is when, like, shielding is important all the time, but this is when it's especially important, is to win switch. Depending on your team comp, it's not always important that you win switch, but sometimes it absolutely can be. So let's say you have a Pokemon that loses to their Pokemon in the lead. Let's say you have Swampert against Venusaur. You don't want Swampert to see Venusaur, because Swampert's just not gonna do anything. So you switch into your safe swap, and then they switch into something that, let's say it's a neutral matchup. It might be important to invest shields to win switch there. Now, of course, this is all game dependent. Like, do you have something else in the back that can deal with Venusaur? How important are your shields to you? It really depends on what you're playing and the Pokemon that your opponent has as well. And this is also something you're just gonna figure out as you play. But let's say let's say you win switch. Like, whatever Pokemon you chose, whatever Pokemon you switched in, has won against the Pokemon that they switched in to counter that. Now they're probably going to come in with their lead. In this case, it would be a Venusaur. So they're going to come out with a Venusaur. They're going to take out the rest of your health. That's fine, because if you were thinking about team building, you would have a hard counter to that Venusaur. So you now have the alignment that you want. You have your hard counter to Venusaur up against their Venusaur, and you have Swampert aligned with whatever they have in the back, and hopefully Swampert can win that matchup. But you definitely don't want it to see Venusaur. And every game is going to be different, right? No two games are exactly the same. Sometimes charge move, or sometimes fast moves can sneak in. Sometimes you might have to get some extra bit of damage off with Swampert on Venusaur in order to win, so you're going to invest a shield or something like that. It's a tough call, really. I can't tell you anything here definitively about that because these are all theoretical. So it really depends on the situation that you're in, how many Pokemon they have, where do you need your shields to go. But don't just shield everything willy-nilly. If you know that it's going to be a low damage move and you have plenty of health, you don't really have to shield right away. Especially if it's like a debuffing move. Like if it's Poison Fang, you don't shield the first Poison Fang unless you absolutely have to. You generally don't. If your Pokemon is full health, you generally don't shield the first Poison Fang because the second one, because it drops your defense, is going to do more damage. So you want to shield the thing that does more damage. So little things like that will be really helpful on your journey. So for this battle that I will be shoutcasting today, these are my own battles, I guess, or this one is my own battle. And I'm going to stop it eventually, but this is my Gigalith team. It's a lot of fun. So as you can see, I am losing the lead here. I don't want Gigalith to see the Swampert, so I safe swap into my Dragonite to bait out an Ice type. So they go into a Galvantula. There are 2 moves. Now they're at 3. So the reason I threw there was because Galvantula would probably win CMP, and I want the damage off. So I decide to go in with Dragon Claw. I know that they are at a charge move right here. This could be a discharge or a lunge, and I'm calling it as the lunge. If it's a discharge, that's okay with me. It is a lunge. So my attack went down. They're at 1, 2, 3. So I get as many, because Dragon Breath is a 1-turn move, compared to Galvantula's, what is it, a 3 or 4-turn move. Because of that, I can get in a lot more charge moves, and I not let any extra moves through. Now this one, since they let that move through, I decided to just shield and farm down. In this case, I wanted Switch, because I don't want Gigalith to see what I have in the, I don't want Gigalith to see Swampert. So instead of bringing in Swampert, they decide to go with this thing that they had in the back. So they go in with Talonflame, and Gigalith is great against this. So now I have the alignment that I want. And they can do whatever they want. Just as soon as they bring out their Swampert, I swap into Venusaur, the direct hard counter to it. Because the way the team is, I know that Gigalith loses to Swampert, so I have Venusaur in the back to deal with Swampert as the direct answer. Now this is my mistake right here. I throw on CMP. My counting was off. I actually lose CMP here, which is sad because now I have to invest a shield. If I threw 1 turn before that, or even 2 turns before that, if I threw when they were at 3 and not at 4, then I didn't need to spend a shield there. But they go down, and they can farm me down, but not because Incinerate is a 5-turn move. It takes a lot of time to do anything. I get this damage off. Now they end up shielding because they know that I will be able to take them out. That Sludge Bomb would KO them from that range, and they know that they have to shield it or else they lose. And I know that whatever Gigalith can take whatever from Talonflame with no big deal. So I didn't need to save a shield for Gigalith. I would have liked to, just in case, but I didn't need it. So I felt comfortable expending that shield on Venusaur there at the end. So those are, I mean, it's still going because I can't exactly stop it the way I have it set up here. But either way, I really hope that that was helpful for all of you guys. I really hope that although we didn't see all the mechanics there in that particular game, there's no singular game where every single gameplay mechanic that I talked about is going to be useful, like all of them together. Just probably not going to happen. Very rare if that happens. But there was counting. There were the CMP ties, the deciding when to shield, what can you survive, do I think they're baiting or not, all of that. And I was okay with, for example, Venusaur taking the Earthquake, because I didn't really need Venusaur except to take out the Swampert. So I knew I can survive an earthquake, so I didn't have to shield the earthquake. And plus, if I shielded the earthquake, they just would have farmed down with Talonflame, and my Gigalith may have been in trouble. So letting the earthquake go there is okay. I hope that this video would be shorter, but alas, it is not. But hopefully it is helpful for everyone, and like I said before, PvPoke is incredible. You can run the simulations, you can build a team, all that stuff. You can go on gostadium.gg to check the ranks of your Pokemon, because IVs do matter. Whether you believe it or not, they do. So I hope that was helpful. I hope it was broken down in such a way where you can understand what I was kind of getting at for each of these things. And I hope you have a wonderful time in GBL. Have fun building teams, have fun experimenting. If this video helped you climb, if this video helped you understand GBL, please leave a comment, leave a like, all that good stuff. I don't really post too much stuff on the YouTube channel, but I thought this would be really helpful. You can go watch me on Twitch, Pirate King Pogo on Twitch. My IGN is Pirate King Yufa, but Pirate King Pogo on Twitch. You should find me. There will be Kinglers everywhere. So thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Fair winds, for we may never meet here again.